It's a pleasure to have you coming down the road with us here on Beck TV. I'm Tyler Axness, filling in for Joel Heidkamp. In fact, Joel will be joining us a little bit later on to break down what transpired on the North Dakota House today, a pretty historic moment here in North Dakota. We'll get into all of that. You've heard about the allegations, and we're going to break down exactly what happened. Joel will be joining us later on in this program. Then a lot to get to today. In fact, one thing I'm really excited for is we got spring training ongoing. We've got about a handful of games, and we're going to be joined with the Twins, one of the communications experts out there, to get you ready for the regular season, what to expect if you want to get out to a game in Target Field. Is that going to be allowed? All that and so much more coming up. But I want to start here. Many of you watching this are beginning, if you have not already filed your taxes, you're getting everything ready to go to do just that. And with the year that we've had, with the pandemic, some of you working from home for the first time, what's allowed, what's not allowed, also the stimulus money. Not everyone has gotten their relief that they were promised, and they're wondering what that might look like. Here to help me break it down for you is North Dakota Tax Commissioner Ryan Rauschenberger. Commissioner Rauschenberger, I appreciate you taking time with us. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for having me on, Tyler.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to break this down. It's I'm going through just my own tax work here, thinking, well, I'm going to be allowed to do this. Turns out maybe not. I want to start here, though. I've gotten a lot of questions over the last few weeks because there's been 2 stimulus checks that are supposed to come, whether it's a debit card, direct deposit, depending on everyone's personal preference and setup. Not everyone's gotten their relief, and they're wondering what's happening here. Do they have any recourse when it comes to filing their taxes to they get the money they were promised?
Well, that's a question that I've received a lot, too, so it's a good topic. And, yes, taxpayers do have, an option to kind of get full up on their on what they may have missed when it comes to stimulus checks, whether they got one check but not the other. They maybe didn't get either check, or they didn't get the full amount that they should have in either check. So there's many different scenarios that I've heard of people experiencing. And what the IRS decided to do was go down the path of having what's called a recovery rebate credit. And that is a credit that you're able to claim when you file your 1040. That's your federal, individual income tax return. So they said, we're in the filing season. I know the last stimulus check came out, late December, early January. Was supposed to get out to everybody, but not everybody got it. So if you didn't get your first check or your second check or didn't get all of it, you can actually, there will be a form that you'll be able to fill out with your federal 1040, which is called, again, the recovery rebate credit. And that will allow you to basically get that cash through, almost like a refund, but through your income tax filing system. So, again, I've talked to a lot of people who have had issues of getting missed. Clearly were eligible for both checks and never got either. So they're looking for both checks to get. They're looking to file very quickly, and hopefully electronically, because they'll get them back even more quickly. But get their refund. But on top of their refund, getting the recovery credit, because that's a lot of money.
That is.
If you're making $30,000, $40,000 a year, getting the original $1,200 credit and the other $600, that adds up a lot. And in those ranges, people need to make they need to pay bills, make ends meet. Or they may go out and spend it, and we need that money circulating in the economy.
And we're going to get to that in just a little bit as far as this last year, what the tax collection for the state was when it comes to sales tax. But you're right, and the thing that baffles me, and I know this is a federal policy, so I'm not going to fault you or anyone in North Dakota, but they were supposed to use the same system on the second round that they did on the first to try to get this out. So, I mean, if you lost out on one and or both, I'd be pretty frustrated. But that's why I wanted to have you on, Commissioner, to explain that, because people were promised it, they're owed it, and this is one of those recourses that they can hopefully get done within the next little over a month now. There's another thing that happened because of this pandemic. A lot of people that had the ability to were asked to work from home. Pack up your computer, use your internet, use your home office space, use your kitchen counter, whatever it is, your cell phone, but we need you to continue to do the job. I've had people wondering, okay, well, because I had to do this not on my own, I was told I had to do because they were locking up the doors and shutting the lights off because of the safety precautions. Can I have any deductibles? Can I get part of my mortgage down through taxes? Can I, claim some of this as far as my internet usage? Is there anything that needs to be cleared up there? Because I think there's a little confusion on a W-2 versus somebody that might be a small business 1099 filer.
You're right, Tyler. There's a lot of confusion, and frankly, there was confusion here at the state. There was some information going around that was saying, yep, when you go home, you're going to be able to deduct. And of course, we're all employees here. When you get sent home, you're going to be able to deduct, internet or your chair, or if you buy a desk or part of your electricity. That is not true. If you're a wage earner, you are not able to deduct those expenses. And what was happening is it was getting conflated with the IRS code that allows you to deduct, household expenses when it's part of your own business. So if you sell real estate, but your office is part of your home and you're self-employed, you can deduct part of your mortgage, rent, internet. You can basically, parse out and apportion a lot of different expenses that you incur at home and deduct that as part of a business expense. But as an employee, you're not able to deduct those kinds of things. And again, there was a lot of confusion here. There were even a couple emails that had to go out statewide to clarify. So we didn't have even state employees trying to federally and state deduct things that they were buying or expenditures that they were incurring at home. Much like somebody who's self-employed. And I think the IRS, some of the IRS guidance maybe doesn't make it all that clear. I think they should make it a little more clear that you have to be self-employed. Mm-hmm. Like if you go on and look at the FAQs, you have to be self-employed and it has to be your own business to be able to deduct those portions of the home. Now, with so many people now working remotely, mm-hmm. there could be some push for some federal changes to that, because it's one thing if you like to go home. It's okay, then get your house set up, maybe get your desk, get your chair. But a lot of people were forced to go home, mm-hmm. and I think there's a lot, and businesses weren't necessarily in a position or could afford to pay for an extra set of office equipment at home. But it'll be interesting to see if there's a push in Congress to now allow for employees to be able to deduct certain expenses if they go home. So it'll be kind of interesting to watch that this year.
Commissioner, it's almost as though you knew exactly my next question. I was going to ask, is this something that you think should change? Because, if I had my crystal ball in front of me here, and one of the things I think that's going to be changed because of this pandemic going forward is, I think there's going to be some employers saying, you know what, I can save some money with not having to rent out office space. Our workers, our employees are still as productive working from home. It seems like something, right. And I know this is well above our pay grades. This is a federal issue, but it's something that really, right. Maybe we push with our delegation going forward. I've got to ask now, because you're the state tax commissioner here, there was a time there where some businesses were closed down. We weren't able to go shopping like we were accustomed to, big venues. all of our big events were shut down for an entire year. I'm curious, the state tax collection during this pandemic in 2022, did it stay steady? Did it, I suspect it went down. Give me a little insight on that, if you would.
We did see a dip. What was very interesting is that we didn't see as much of a dip as I thought we were going to see. I was, right away at the beginning of the pandemic, the first couple months, I thought we were going to see some serious, because we not only had the economy was, certain businesses were shut down, a lot of accommodation and food services for a period of time. There was a mandatory closure of some of those, but we also had oil prices tank, and that makes up about a third of our oil tax, sales tax collections. So we definitely did see a dip in our sales tax collections, but now that we've readjusted forecast, we are on track. We just got our most recent month. We're working on the forecast for the next biennium. We're in as good a shape as we really could be, considering that we kind of hit the double whammy. We had COVID and we had oil prices come down. We had a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia. We're down to 13 rigs a year ago. Well, a little over a year ago, we had 55 rigs. So given all of that, I'm actually pretty optimistic about our sales tax. One of the saving graces of that is online sales tax has grown tremendously. Last April, the online sales tax we collected, the activity online, was 6 times to 2019. So April of 2020, we had 6 times the online sales tax activity compared to April of 2019. And that is, although I don't like the fact that money is not staying in the local economy, when it comes to state and local taxes being collected, we've collected over $108 million just over the last 2.5 years since the Supreme Court allowed us to start collecting online sales tax. So that has been a huge saving grace when it comes to state and local finances. So surprisingly, our sales tax base, we've written down the forecast, and so we're meeting that amount. But we're still well below the 2013-14 days.
Sure.
But overall, we're pretty positive. Income, sales, and both seem to be are really on track to be doing pretty well.
Very good. Very good, Commissioner. I appreciate the update. I know you got a very busy schedule ahead of you. You got the second half of the session. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time with us here on Down the Road.
Thanks so much, Tyler.
Thank you. Ryan Rauschenberger, the State Tax Commissioner here in North Dakota. When we come back, let's talk baseball. Spring training underway. I'm Tyler Axness, taking you down the road.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with 1 truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make 1 call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Thanks again for coming with us down the road here on Beck TV. I'm Tyler Axness, filling in for Joel Heidkamp. Momentarily, Joel will be joining us in just a little bit to break down what transpired today on the North Dakota House. But you know what is going on? We're a handful of games into spring training. Twins baseball coming back. I'm excited. I know many of you are as we get ready for the regular season. I'm hoping that we can get on the Target Field and actually embrace that, have a hot dog, maybe a cold beverage to watch them in person after the year that we had. They're playing right now down in Florida throughout this week going forward. Here to tell us about what we can expect is Dustin Morse, who is with the Minnesota Twins, the communications director, the PR. He does it all for the Twins down there, and I appreciate you taking some time. Welcome here, Dustin.
Yeah, happy to be on. Happy to talk Twins baseball, and we've got some sunshine and palm trees, and you talked about those hot dogs and cold beverages. We've got that happening down here too.
Well, and let's start there because I was visiting with another individual that's connected with the Minnesota Twins just yesterday, and I'd asked, you know what, I think one of the big storylines is the fact that you're playing in front of fans. You know, we went a whole year, Dustin, tragically without the ability to have fans. And I'm curious, you visit, you set up all the interviews with the players. What's their response? They get to smell the grills. They get to hear some of the heckling, some of the claps, the cheers. What's been the response in the first handful of games?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, it's been somewhat emotional. A couple players told me that just, the year last year that we had, it was a good season for us, but obviously just no fans in the stands to enjoy it with us. And, I think a lot of players realize that the fans really are a part of this. And not that they took them for granted before, but maybe they took for granted just all the support and noise and things happening in the ballpark that, I'll be honest, as an employee going through Target Field with just very few people in the building and then taking it on the road as well, you're walking in areas that normally would be crowded concourses that are just empty and dark. And at first it was kind of interesting. It was different. I was actually responsible for chasing down some home run balls because there was nobody to get those milestone moments other than the few of us in the building. So now having, about 28% capacity here at Hammond Stadium, about 2,400 fans, it does make a difference. I mean, those 2,400 sound like a sellout, and the players themselves have acknowledged it. They do look up and see the cheers and the smells and just notice that, baseball is a little more alive with fans in the stands. So it's been great. Hopefully we can keep it that way, and hopefully we can get fans in our seats at Target Field as well.
Well, and I was gonna get there. You mentioned that not that players took fans for granted. I think, as a fan myself, maybe I took those experiences and those opportunities for granted. And then they were taken away over the last year to where I couldn't just hop in the vehicle, the rig, and head down to Minneapolis and watch the Twins. What I've been noticing as I've been watching the first few spring training games is people that are getting there early, they're staying for the entire game. And I suspect, if we are able to have some fans in the stands, which I do hope there is during opening day at Target Field, there's going to be a level of energy there because there's so much pent-up demand from us as fans to get out there and see the product, which I think there's a lot of excitement for, given the trajectory that the Twins have had over the last couple of years and some of the off-season moves. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the upcoming season, what you predict, your thoughts on just some of the off-season moves, and what we can be watching and listening to.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I mean, this roster is coming together. I've got the luxury of sitting very closely with Rocco Baldelli and Derek Falvey as they talk through a lot of roster decisions and the makeup of this ball club. Yeah, I think some fans early would maybe question the pitching, the bullpen, but I can tell you early looks here from on the back end of it, at least Taylor Rogers and Tyler Duffy, very familiar names with our fans. They're doing their thing. And then the addition of Alex Colomé and Hansel Robles, and don't sleep on a young kid, Jorge Alcala. I mean, the back-end bullpen looks very good, very solid. They're getting their work in. They're doing what they need to do. The rotation, it's hard to argue with the nice 1-2 punch of Kenta Maeda and Jose Barrios. Kenta's, pitched today and, runner-up in Cy Young. You can't ask for much more in a season. So you got those two, and then we're working in Jay Happ, who was a delayed start due to COVID. We've also got Matt Shoemaker, and then Big Mike. Mike Pineda's back. We believe in this five, so the starting rotation looks good. And then you move around the diamond. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of depth as well. behind the plate, combination of Mitch Garber and Ryan Jeffers. I think we all know Mitch needs to get back to where he was 2 years ago, and if his bat's working, that lineup looks pretty good with some thunder in the middle, with Cruz being back, the boomstick. It's hard to argue with him in the middle there, with Josh Donaldson and Miguel Sano. I think we like what we have there. And then towards the top with Jorge Polanco and Max Kepler, makes for a really good offensive team. But I also want to point out the defense. And all of our pitchers have commented on how great Byron Buxton and Max Kepler are in the outfield. You bring in a guy like Andrelton Simmons. We signed just a platinum gold glove shortstop that's just amazing what he can do. I had the luxury of working for Team Netherlands during the World Baseball Classic and got to watch Andrelton, who's from Curacao, just do some things on the field that were just ridiculous. So he's been slowed a little bit by some visa issues, but he's due to come into camp tomorrow. And once he gets going, that defense, with Donaldson and Simmons, and then the outfield is looking sharp too. So we've got a lot to be excited about. Team looks good. The team is deep, and we're just getting our work in. And a couple more weeks of playing baseball, and then we'll kind of figure out those last roster spots and try to round out this team.
You mentioned Mitch Garber, and boy, yesterday he really connected with one. You talked about him needing to get back to being healthy, and boy, with hearing the crack and the connection he had with that home run that he had so early in yesterday's game, I think he's back. I hope he stays healthy. And you mentioned Buxton, too. I think the key, which is any sports, any team, is making sure that these guys stay healthy. You think about the talent that is on this field and on this roster, and I know some final decisions will come. We stay healthy. We have a good run here in the Central, I do believe, Dustin.
No doubt. You said it. I mean, Byron Buxton is a key. When he's on the field, he's electric. He's an MVP-type player. He's changed a little bit of his mindset, how he's going to play defense, jumping off of 2 feet versus his 1 foot leap into the wall. He's trying to soften those crashes, which we've all, seen time and time again. He's going to be the same old Byron. He's going to attack the baseball, but he's learning. He's talking to guys like Torrey Hunter and some others that have played the position. So I feel good there. Mitch Garber, I think we've been so spoiled by our offensive output from the catching position. Joe Mauer was behind the plate for a long time. People forget how demanding that position is and the bumps and bruises those catchers take. But I think a nice combination of Mitch Garber and Ryan Jeffers gives the guys days to heal and catch their breath a little bit. So, but I'm with you. Mitch Garber put a nice swing on a ball yesterday, got it out of the ballpark. He's got a pretty swing. When he connects, and we've got a lot of guys that can put the ball in the seats. So we saw it a couple of years ago with the Bomba squad. I think this team is as deep as we can be right now. Left field's kind of the wild card right now. Eddie Rosario obviously left for Cleveland, but we've got Jake Cave and Kyle Garlick and Alex Kirilloff and Brent Rooker all kind of in the mix there. So we've got options, and it's going to be a nice battle throughout spring. But I'm with you. There's a lot to be excited about.
There is, and I can feel it here in the Upper Midwest building as we inch closer to opening day. And when we find out what the capacity is at Target Field, there's going to be a run to get those tickets to be some of the first people back to watch the Twins and the product you guys have all put on the field. Dustin, I appreciate you taking time. I'm going to let you get back to the palm trees and the baseball that's going down in Florida, and hopefully we get to catch up when we're back home here up in Minnesota, all right? I appreciate you taking time today.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. You got spring training underway. You're just a little bit away from opening day. I'm excited. I know many of you watching are as well. Down the road, we're going to be continuing on. This is Joel Heidkamp Show, and guess what? Joel Heidkamp is going to be joining us in just a few moments here. Years of allegations of harassment from a North Dakota lawmaker, Luke Simons. The debate happened today on the North Dakota House floor. We'll tell you what happened next with Joel Heidkamp right here on Down the Road.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking. Here, at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car! How will we? The car! Your offer has been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing. But how will we? The closing!
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Howdy, folks. It's the Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay-bossing breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hey, Joel Heitkamp back with you here on Down the Road. It's a historic day in the state of North Dakota, and it's a sad day. It really is. I don't know anyone that was sitting there wanting there ever to be a procedure where a member of North Dakota's House is expelled, to where there is a vote on expulsion. And I don't care whether it's Republican or Democrat, where charges are levied like they were today on the North Dakota House. So it's not the day anybody was looking for. As you saw earlier, Tyler Axness has been helping me out with Down the Road. I'm going to bring him in as we have a conversation about this now. Tyler, did it surprise you?
The margin did. Let me step back. Yeah, it did. I was surprised that the outcome was what it was. I thought that there was going to be and there was attempts to amend this to a censure to just, all right, you know what, he's maybe learned his lesson as far as Luke Simons goes. We know because this has been years in the making, every attempt to correct his behavior has not been successful. I was surprised that there was some of the names that voted yes to get him out of there because they knew there was no way to correct what's already been going on, Joel.
Yeah, and that was a point that Chet Pollard and others made, leadership, I should say, on the Republican side, made a number of times on the floor today, which is, look, we tried to fix this. We met with him 3 or more times and said, you got to clean this act up. And, they felt as though he didn't get it. They had no choice. And I was really glad, Tyler, to see them stick up for legislative council.
Well, and you and I both worked with legislative council. they are just there to get the job done. They don't care if you're a Democrat, you're Republican, or what their personal leanings are. They go there with their head held up high to get the job done. Write bills, even if they think because of the law, because they're attorneys, even if this weren't to pass, it's their job to do what legislators want, aside from the inappropriate behavior from individuals like Luke Simons. I'm glad that Chet Pollard, and I need to give kudos to the House Majority Leader for offering this resolution, getting the votes there, and then sticking up. Because I had an issue that, look, this has been 3 years in the making, and the workplace safety has been kind of lax here. Today, they finally set it straight.
Yep.
Said no more.
He never wavered. He never waffled. He stuck to the point he was trying to make, ladies and gentlemen. And the one thing that he made perfectly clear was where he stood, there need to be an expulsion. And nobody's going to stand and say that, hey, we could just have a censure, we could have a hearing, we could have all that, which you're about to hear. There's plenty of that. But here's how it broke down. There was individuals that got to make the case of why in the beginning. And then there was individuals that got to make the case of why not. But it started with the whys. And so I want to just share with you, let's go to clip 5, ladies and gentlemen. And this is Representative O'Brien from Grand Forks. Take a listen to this.
Representative Simons wanted a hearing where he could confront his accusers. Well, here you go. We are here. For me, one example occurred on April 13th, 2017, Legislative Day 67. I had a guest visitor with me on the floor that day. Representative Simons looked me up and down and asked, "So what are you wearing today?" How humiliating to have a guest visitor hear those words from one of my colleagues. I have not worn that dress since that day. Every time I go to pick out a dress to wear, I'm reminded of the empty stomach feeling I was left with that day when those words left his mouth.
So what do you do? What do you do if you're Representative O'Brien? You've got a guest sitting next to you. That guest is there to learn about government, to sit there with their representative. Maybe it's a family member. I don't know who that guest was. All I know is this. Representative Simons, or no longer Representative Simons, did everything he could to put her in an uncomfortable position. Now, proximities. Tyler, you know this, where you sit in relation to other legislators, what that matters.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the early stages of becoming a lawmaker. You get to pick your desk. It went by seniority and when you got to, because that was where you're going to be sitting for the next 80 days. And there's a process to it. It's just like getting assigned seating when you're in elementary school. And for Emily O'Brien and to watch and listen to her, I bet you this is a tough day for those victims that had to relive the harassment that Luke Simons was allegedly doing towards them. But to get up and have to ask her colleagues to say, look, I can't handle this anymore. Can you please move my desk away from him? Had to be tough.
None of them wanted this.
No.
None of them wanted this. They became lawmakers, ladies and gentlemen, because they wanted to create and live by the policy that they passed. Laws in the state of North Dakota. But as Tyler just said, look, it's about proximity. It's about how uncomfortable you can be in a certain situation. And listen to what Representative O'Brien in cut 6 here, guys, says about where she was sitting.
When these events occurred, I asked myself, was I overreacting? Was I being dramatic? Should I say something? Who should I tell? What will their reaction be? Will it fall on deaf ears? Will I be called a liar? Will they think I wanted it? When I decided to let my voice be heard, some questioned my agenda or belittled my experiences. I heard things like, "Oh, it's just men acting like men," or "You're just trying to frame me," or "You're on a political witch hunt." What do I get out of this? Nothing. I am getting nothing out of speaking out except to have my voice heard and to help other victims have their voice heard in the hope of fostering a safe and professional working environment.
See, and she's spot on right about that. What price does she pay for doing what she just did? I mean, how'd you like to go to the caucus meeting after having the courage to do what she just did with all of those people, Rick Becker, Dan Ruby, and others who stood and took her on? How would you like to be in that caucus meeting?
Yeah, I mean, you can add the Koppelmans, you can add a list of names. There was 25 that voted against expelling Luke Simons for his behavior. That's 25 people that said, you know what, that behavior is okay by me.
All of those are in her caucus.
All of them are in her caucus, and you heard her just say that there was people trying to say, well, what did you do to warrant this behavior? Those same people are in this caucus right now, Jewel.
And you can look on our board right now. It was just up, and maybe take another look at what and how those votes broke down. The green votes, obviously votes to expel, expunge, kick out. You can use any phrase you want. But the green votes said, you know what, we're not going to take this anymore. The red votes all basically saying, look, we want him to stay a North Dakota State representative. I want you because there was a big debate on the floor today about whether or not this was a conspiracy, whether or not this was orchestrated, just simply out of dislike for former Representative Simons from Dickinson. And here, let's go to cut 4 and see what Representative O'Brien said about that.
He claims this is the overarching arm of a complex and coordinated conspiracy encompassing all of us here in the chamber that he considers his enemies. We all know that this assertion is trivial and false. The reality is that Representative Simons is desperately seeking to spin the narrative away from the focus on the many credible accounts of his own actions. Representative Simons publicly stated that he has made political enemies because of his very conservative voting record, and he does not apologize for my conservative voting record. According to Representative Simons, there are counterfeits within the Republican Party, who he explained simply have an R by their name. Whatever his thoughts on the political philosophy of his colleagues may be, this is a smokescreen to deflect attention from the abhorrent and credible claims made against him. Actions do have consequences. His politics are welcome, but his behavior is not.
And behavior is not is the key there. The one thing I found interesting about all those people that were willing to challenge Representative Simons and Representative Pyle from Castleton being one of those, Tyler, they looked him right in the eye. They looked him right in the eye and they said exactly what they felt.
And they had to, and it wasn't easy. And this whole conspiracy theory that O'Brien had the courage to call out for the nonsense that it is, that this is some plot to take down Luke Simons because he's effective. I want to know what he's done in the 4 years that he's been a legislator. He's racked up more claims of harassment than he has bills passing the legislature. So this whole conspiracy that it's everyone else but him and he's the real victim here and nonsense, and it had to be called out. Unfortunately, it had to be called out by one of the victims of his behavior.
It wasn't as though Representative Simons didn't have his allies. In fact, one of those allies that had strong words on the floor and was sticking up for Luke Simons, one of those allies is on this very network, and that is Rick Becker, state representative, physician, and host of one of our shows on the Beck News Network. But I have to tell you, the case he made, it wasn't there for me, and apparently he didn't make a strong enough case for those individuals that in the end had to vote. We'll share some of what he said when we come back as we head down the road.
Howdy folks, it's a Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a comb roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
For those of you that are just joining us, Tyler Axness is my guest, and he's with me. We're talking through what happened in the North Dakota House today. It's a historic day. And again, I repeat, not a day that anyone wanted. It's a day that many of us believe had to happen. Many of us believe was going to happen. I didn't know how the vote was going to shake out. I didn't know if the votes were there to expel and basically kick Luke Simons out of the North Dakota House, Republican from Dickinson. In the end, it did. There was. Now, there were those that, took a strong stance for him, and they brought a case to the floor of examples of what other states have done, as though that was going to sway the members of the House chamber. One of those you see right here on this very network. Take a listen here to clip 2 of examples that Representative Rick Becker gave.
And I just want to give you a few. There's Representative Don Shooter, a Republican from Arizona, who was expelled for sexual harassment after an independent investigation. Representative Diego Hernandez, which, by the way, is referenced in the citations given to us by the memo from Legislative Council, a Democrat from Oregon, hostile workplace. A 4-panel committee voted to expel after a 9-month independent investigation. Representative Matt Dabina, Democrat, California. He pushed a lobbyist into a closet and started groping her, doing other lewd acts with her. After an independent investigation came to their conclusion, he resigned. Senator Tony Mendoza, Democrat, California, independent investigation because of flirtatious and sexually suggestive behavior, came to a conclusion. Senator Steve Lebsock, Democrat, Colorado, after an independent investigation, found 3 accusations credible. Representative Joseph Suki, Democrat, Hawaii, unwanted kissing and touching, went through their ethics commission. After they came to a conclusion, he resigned. We have the process. We're choosing not to use it. There are opportunities, and I again, do not dismiss the concerns, the accusations, and the feelings of the accusers. We have opportunities to do something less than expel, something that's never been done before in North Dakota.
Now, I just want to point out something my dad told me a long, long time ago when my dad was still alive. He said, nothing you say before the word but matters. So just say it. Say what you think. In other words, don't say, you know what, I respect these women, I do, and I understand, and I do not stand for abuse and all of this, but when it comes to Luke Simons, I am not going to expel him. Now, I don't know, Tyler, if the point by Representative Becker there is really that somebody has to be pulled in a closet and groped, or what his point was there. I know he was having a problem with the process, but that's his leadership.
Well, and he wants to be the leader of this Bastiat caucus that is, the further right side of the Republican Party in North Dakota. Luke Simons is the face of that caucus right now. There's a lot to unpack from that clip that you just played from Rick Becker. First, this is from the same individuals that say, you know what, we don't need to follow what other states are doing. We know how to take care of our own. They establish their own rules. You know that from being in the other chamber over there. Two, talking about the Ethics Commission. This same legislative body and that same caucus is one that wants to dismantle any ability for the same Ethics Commission that voters put in.
They voted to take the funding away.
Not fund it, and then two, limit the scope of what you can do. Everything that they just said right now, they've been against until today, and they didn't have the votes. And thankfully, as sorrowful as it is, the votes were on the right side to do what had to be done.
So Representative Becker, ladies and gentlemen, decided the way to do this is to offer amendments, to throw amendments at, because we needed options. In other words, you got a nice, clear, concise pool of water, and so why not throw mud in it? Why not make sure you muddy the water enough so that people really don't know what they're voting on? Take a listen to one of the amendments he offered and what he said about it in clip one.
The motion is to move an amendment to the resolution, which was passed out again. Because the resolution needed to be in writing, there was no way to do, the amendment rather, there was no way to do the typical way we do things because the resolution itself had not been formally introduced. So, again, sorry for the confusion. I think it's pretty straightforward. The amendment to the resolution changes expel to censure in two places, and it removes the last two lines on the first page, first two lines on the second page. In my opinion, that is a very odd whereas section. It doesn't belong. It adds nothing to it. Removing it does not detract anything from it. But obviously the point of the amendment is to change expulsion to censure.
And again, that was the approach they took. They kept talking about how there wasn't a due process here. Well, you had a member of their own chamber stand up and say exactly what happened. That was just one example. That was just one. A little bit later in this segment, we're going to show what Representative Pyle did and what she says directly to Representative or former Representative, I got to remember to keep saying that, Representative Simons. And so amendment after amendment, and each one, Tyler, was defeated.
And quite frankly, I was surprised. I do believe that the final vote for expulsion was the largest margin of all of them. So these attempts at grasping at straws for whatever reason from the Representative Beckers and the Representative Dan Ruby's to try to find this narrow approach saying, look, this is going too far, even though it's been multiple allegations over multiple years. The process has played out that the leadership has been in the know. They've taken Representative Simons or former Representative Simons upstairs to council to face the people that have been accusing him of inappropriate behavior. What more could have done or been done besides what the final outcome was today? Censure was not enough because you know what that does? It keeps him in that body working with the same people that he wasn't, quite frankly, really welcome to be in the same room with right now.
See, the Bastiat caucus, you made mention of that earlier. They talk about being this far-right, conservative, peer government, peer libertarian type of caucus, and they talked about having enough power to really do things. They don't have any power. What I saw today was they don't have the power to sway. They don't have the power to stand up on the floor of the North Dakota House and convince you of their position on something as important as this. They get 6 more votes. This doesn't happen. If you can't stand up and sway 6 votes, you have no swag, Tyler.
Well, and this has been one of those long back and forth, do they, don't they? And I think today was the culmination to show that they don't. And it was in the most... the egregious allegations that came out against one of their own members. And if you can't get the 6, what more can you not get done? That's why I go back to when this was a conspiracy to take Representative Simons down because he was effective. Show me how. Show me the pieces of legislation that has impacted the state that you've passed, because he hasn't got the votes in his caucus to get it done, and that caucus doesn't have the votes in the legislature to get it passed.
The one thing that I did agree with Representative Becker on is that there's not middle ground here. If you look at what happened and what choices were in front of the legislatures, censure doesn't do a thing. It's a slap on the hand. It's basically saying behave. Well, he had been told to behave more than 3 times. He had been hauled in front of Legislative Council so that they could tell him what he was doing wrong. And he still didn't take the advice of his leadership. I would argue that that is censure, that is being told exactly what's expected of him and how to behave. And for one more person to tell me, whether it's on my radio show or emails into this show, that that's just how they talk in Western North Dakota. That's how ranchers are. Don't do it. Do not do it. That's an insult to the ranchers and the people that are out there working hard. They're out there working hard, and it denigrates a good group of North Dakotans because that isn't how they act. Trust me. I got a lot of ranchers that are friends. I want to just end with this. Listen to what Brandy Pyle says. She looks Representative Simons directly in the eye, and she's one of the individuals that accused him of wrongdoing. Listen to this.
No one today here has lied. In our regular committees, when people come and testify in the general public, we take them at their word. So to sit here and be told that it's not true is absolutely true. I am not going to stand here and be belittled by a fellow legislator and called that my words are false and inaccurate or untrue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So if we're going to call each other liars, and I'm not calling anybody liars, I would ask that maybe we had a hearing. Wouldn't that be awesome?
And so let me just add this. She said a fellow legislator, because of the courage of Brandy Pyle and Representative O'Brien, he's no longer a fellow legislator. We'll be back with some closing comments as we continue to head down the road.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative BRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
You know, I know the subject of Luke Simons is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. I know it's been one that we've been talking about a lot here on Beck News. I get that. I understand it. And I know it's one that, we've tried to tell the story from every angle. It didn't end today. It didn't end today. He might have been kicked out of the North Dakota House. I get that. I understand it. I got the vote. I understand why they did it, but it didn't end today. It did not. In fact, there's a lot of caucus members who lost today that aren't going to let it end. Those caucus members are going to continue to go forward, and they're going to continue to make their argument that he should never have been kicked out. And so really what this legislative session is about now is this issue. Now, Chet Pollard did what he did, and I want to congratulate him, not because he won, but for the courage that he showed in making sure that North Dakota, which, by the way, all of this played out on the Washington Post the other day, that North Dakota is not perceived as a state that will allow this. With all due respect to Rick Becker, who I enjoy conversations with when we have them, using an example of somebody throwing someone in a closet and groping her, as though the other things that Luke Simon did were in any way, shape less. That's not fair. That's not right. And it shouldn't have been part of this process. Now, everybody gets to grab a microphone and say what they want. And I realize that Representative Simon sits right next to him and is a member of that Bastiat caucus. But here's the thing to keep in mind. Those women that came forward did it with courage, with nothing to gain. And the only thing that this is going to do to them is it's going to hurt any potential they have of getting legislation through. And that's the truth, because there's always repercussions to this. There is. And if you don't think those same caucus members that were standing up, making all of those amendments, saying basically that what Luke Simons had done was okay. Now, remember what I said earlier in this show? Nothing matters before the word but. And those same people that were grabbing the microphone and saying, I don't stand for anybody, doing things to women. I don't stand for sexual abuse. I don't stand for all of that. But those people that were in that group are the same individuals that are going to do what they can do to make sure that the O'Briens and the Piles pay a price. I believe that. And I know I'm right about it. Because you know what? That's a tough group. The Rubies of the world and the Beckers of the world aren't going to walk up to them now and shake their hands and say, you know what, this is over. They're not going to do that. I'd like to say it's been fun riding with you, but this is a ride nobody wanted to take. So it is good riding with you.